What is how would you define product marketing? I mean, I'm sure people here know, but just for those who don't, how would you define product marketing?
First of all, I want to make it. So I was in Paris last week, and we had a work theme. So if my brain melts at some point, let me know. Just warn me. Product marketing wise, I'm not sure if we have product marketers in the room. Do we have any? There's one. Okay. So she can correct me later if I say anything stupid. I think in terms of product marketing, it's a discipline that in the US is well established. But if you look, especially in Europe. The UK is well advanced now on that front, but if you look at Europe, a lot of companies don't understand the value of it yet. And even product marketers in the US are still struggling to kind of explain the value to the companies they work for. In terms of where product marketing sits, you'd see some companies would put product marketing within marketing, some would put it within product. I've even seen companies that have done both, so they have kind of lines to both departments. We've also slowly, so there's the Product Marketing Alliance, so we also start slowly seeing that it's basically a department on its own, and I think it deserves to be, because then it makes the job of a product marketer easier, depending on the size of the company. So in general, product marketing would sit somewhere in between, kind of as the heart into product, sales, marketing, customer success, different departments. But equally, as a product marketer, it's important that you know about like 70% of the contents of everyone's job within a company, because you have to, a big part of product marketing is to convince other people to do something for you. And obviously that's part of many jobs, but especially within product marketing, that's the case. It's the core focus of a product marketer is really nail the messaging of a product. So if you've got, and, for fintech, you've got payments companies, B2B payments companies, and we're storytellers as well. And sometimes if you've got a B2B kind of payments product, that's hard to make sexy. But equally you want to create a nice story, something that really convinces a target audience to obviously buy your product or at least start a conversation. And that's basically what you do. So you read the voice of your customer, and at the same time you do a lot of internal conversations about what is the voice of the company, how's that matching up with the target audience. And I think that's kind of you position your products within the market. But there's a lot of other stuff that you do as well. So from market intelligence, so you gather a lot of intelligence about the markets, about the target audience, you do a lot of research, and depending on the size of the company, you will have colleagues that help you with that. But I know especially if there are smaller fintechs in the room or even scale-ups, there will be maybe one product marketer. And again, looking back to the thing I first mentioned, in the UK, it's well advanced now, but it's still hard to find companies with well-established product marketing functions.
You mentioned company size. I realized we didn't really introduce software banking because you have like 50,000 employees, right?
Yeah,
what is it like being a product marketer in such an enormous company?
I think so. Software Stereo Group is 50,000 people. It's about 5 billion in revenue. Software banking is the software arm basically of the group, so it's about 6,000 people. We've got actually my colleague just walked in the back, Bettina and Anna. She's also a product marketer, so she will also correct me later on. So I've got another one, she can back you up. I mean, it's very different. So I actually, at some point last year, just before the fintech slump, I joined the US scale-up, which we also covered. You've also covered. Actually, when I just joined, Araminta had a podcast show?
Yes,
I think,
that's right.
Yeah. So I joined, but it took about 2.5 weeks, and then they got rid of all the new hires. So I rejoined software banking. After a couple of months, which was interesting. But again, I was the only product marketer there, and I already realized that within 2.5 weeks, I just went in and started talking to everyone. So it's a very different thing to being in software banking, 6,000 people. We've got a massive marketing team. Bettina is actually the market intelligence that I just mentioned. She does that, so she gathers all the info. She has the customer conversations, and then she feeds that back to us, and then we can embed that into our messaging and how we position our products in the market. So it's a very different kind of ball game. Equally, in a bigger company, you have to talk to a lot more people, and you have to 50% of your job is convincing other people that what you do creates value, and yet also telling them how you're doing it is a big part of the job, especially within large organizations.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what would you say, you mentioned already a couple of the challenges, but what would you say are the key challenges as a product marketer in an organization like that? You said that you were the only one at the beginning. What have you noticed on a day-to-day basis are your kind of key challenges?
Yeah, so I think those two overlap. So obviously 2.5 weeks is not very long, but I come in as a whirlwind anywhere. So, I talk to a lot of people. I think I connected to I'm quite active on LinkedIn as well. So I connected to about 100 of them on LinkedIn within 2.5 weeks, had nice conversations. I would say it's similar. So again, convincing the people within the organization the value of product marketing, because obviously if this was a US scale-up, but even there, it's very hard. Okay, so a product manager, usually people know what they do, right? So they, basically they're owning a product roadmap. They often own a part of the product. You have multiple product managers, but product marketing is like it's almost like a layer on top. And once you layer yourself on top of anything, it's harder to then explain to everyone, okay, this is the value I'm bringing. But equally, if you let a product manager go in the market and talk to, say you have a B2B payments product, and you start talking to exec level at banks, it's very hard for a product manager to explain it non-technically, to actually explain the story of the product. So we talk to product. We then also talk to sales because they talk to customers. We also talk to, obviously, marketing internally, and then we create a story that we tell about the product. But again, we have to have input from all of those people and connecting all of those dots, which is, it takes up a lot of time.
Yeah. So talking about communicating the value at Sopra Banking, how do you do that on like a daily basis?
So I'm actually part of a smaller business unit that is commercial finance, and that it kind of sits apart. So how do I do that? I will have regular kind of meetings with my salespeople. We have different geos that we look after as well. So I just catch up with them. I obviously have regular catch-ups with senior leaders within the organization because you kind of have to onboard them as well as what you're doing. And product marketing, for it to really show its value within an organization, it takes some time, especially when you first come in. And the business unit that I'm part of, we had some product marketing, but equally when I joined Sopra Banking, they were still rolling out kind of the product marketing function on this side of the business. So it took 6 to 9 months to really get things going, and obviously me leaving and coming back didn't help. But my manager was still there. But then I rejoined and my manager left. So it was a turbulent period. But equally, we still kept going with the go-to-market, and that's the key kind of word. When I talk about messaging and positioning, the go-to-market is kind of the key. Everything surrounds the go-to-market for a given product. It could be a portfolio of products as well. So what you see often is you see one product manager, maybe you see like five product managers and one product marketing manager. I think the PMA says the ideal ratio is about 2 to 1. So you have 2 product managers for different features, but again, there's different ways to set up a product marketing team in that.
What kind of KPIs or metrics are you measured on? Because it feels quite
It
vague.
is vague, yeah. I mean, obviously, if you look at the hardcore kind of numbers, everyone wants to talk revenue and MQLs. But I think for product marketing, that's harder because it's a longer term kind of play. I would say it's more about objectives. So what is the objective you have? So if you have a go-to-market, obviously you're responsible for product launches. Product launches could also be feature launches or maybe a new user interface that you're launching with the product. The objective should be that if we've got everything through all the stages of the go-to-market, we deliver everything that sales collateral is obviously a big part of it. We deliver all of that. And then we start seeing that people are obviously getting them to use it as well is another thing. You have to convince sales, okay, this is the way to use it, this is the story you need to tell. So you have to onboard them as well with the new kind of story that you've created. And then you also work with like digital marketing to get campaigns going, again, using similar messaging. So again, you're talking about 6 to 9 months to set up a proper go-to-market, and then you're talking about the tail end of that in terms of the objective being, okay, now we see that we're reaching the right target audience, we're convincing them to have conversations with us. So this is like at least a year before you get any results as a product marketer. So you have to be very clear with both senior leadership that this is going to take some time, and then you have to show it as an objective rather than a KPI. I'm not going to bring you 10 million in revenue in the next year. But what I'm going to do is build this go-to-market, and because it's now established, then in the next year, you go not to 10 million, you go to 100 million.
Yeah, one that we've experienced, because what we do is kind of product-focused content, and one result that happens when you create this kind of content is that prospects know so much more about your product when you jump on a call, which is kind of can you measure that? Like, I mean, it's more of a feeling, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that, and again, it's quite a niche kind of commercial financing product that we sell. So the industry is quite small. The target audience is quite well known. So, for example, an example is our US sales guy who's been here for decades. So we have basically we have a legacy system as well. We still sell it, it's still running with some clients. But he basically picks up the phone and he knows everyone. So everyone also knows about the product. I think the main struggle is that obviously throughout the years, companies, especially the bigger companies, is the branding and the visibility. So if you're well known for example, not names, software banking actually bought the business unit that we work for, a lot of people will still refer to you as the old kind of business with the business name. And then people start getting confused and what is it exactly you do. But I say in terms of kind of, when someone jumps on a call and they know more about your product, actually that proves the value of product marketing, because in that case, things you put out there means that people understand what you do, what you sell, and they want to be in a conversation with you rather than being confused about what they're talking about.
Conversion rates are higher.
Yes, yeah.
So if we were to summarize the answer to the question, how do you communicate the value of what you do as a product marketer to the leadership team? We've said, first of all, set expectations, right? 6 to 9 months and maybe 1 year before you really start seeing results. What else would you add there?
I think it maybe what's valuable for this room is if you're working for maybe a smaller fintech, you might not have a product marketer yet, depending on the size. I think now more and more it's recognized that I used to say if you reach about 70 people in your team, that's a good time to start thinking about hiring a marketing manager. However, what I think is if you look at the pool of product marketers that are out there, so again, if you do need a product marketer, go to the Product Marketing Alliance's Slack. That's it's 36,000 people all across the globe. They will generally be generalists because they have to connect all of the dots. They have to be able to talk to everyone from a CEO to whoever it is, the marketer. So I think, how do you, as a product marketer, how do you convince people of your value? I think a product marketer will be able to do that in general. So for anyone who's interested in doing it, if you're a journalist, then it's a good path to go for. Equally, if you're really into storytelling, you have a very creative mind, that's something you can flip and use as a product marketer as well. But again, in terms of the size, I would say hire a product marketer early, even if you're early stage. Get someone as a product marketer that's a journalist that understands a lot of parts of a different business. Obviously, someone with some experience in a big organization that can kind of translate it. But yeah, if you're early stage, they will need to convince you of value. I can convince you that it's a good hire to make if you're early stage. Equally, if you're working for a larger business, if you have a product marketing manager, they will know a lot about the product. So if you recently joined a company or if you want to know a bit more, they're good people to talk to explain in simple terms everything that your company does. And again, because we're able to do that, we usually convince, it's a longer term thing. However, internally and externally, we'll be able to tell you the story of your products. Very simple, very clear language, and basically convince the right people to have the right conversation with you.
So you partially answered my question, but I'm wondering, imagine I'm a marketing manager and I'm potentially interested in product marketing. What are the signs that maybe this is the next step for me and that this could be a good role for me?
I mean, it sounds a bit geeky, but if you dream about the product and how it works, and I've tested a lot of stuff. I'm a bit of a fintech geek. I've had, all of them, Revolut, Monzo, everything. And if you think about, this UX, it could be a bit better. Actually, I know if someone would use it like that. If you're feeling geeky like that, I would say it's a good, especially as a marketing manager, I would say product marketing is a good way to go. And if you're thinking about how that would work and how you can then convince someone to use your product. I mean, Monzo is a perfect example. Obviously, their social media again is it's great, but equally the things that they put out there is telling the story of I need my money to work for me, and that's basically their mission. And that's the story they tell over and over again with everything they put out there. So that's a really good product marketing point. And I knew some of their product marketing managers, and they were really good as well.
Now, on the other hand, imagine I'm a CMO or a head of marketing and I'm considering hiring a product marketer. What are the signs that I should hire one?
What are the signs you should hire a product marketer? And you don't have any yet, or you do?
I guess you don't have any.
I mean, if you don't have any yet, it's harder for that first product marketing hire to be made because you have to kind of get accustomed to where you place that person. What would I say to convince them to hire a product marketer, or what?
I guess I'm the head of marketing and I'm wondering if I should hire one and I'm not sure.
Just do it.
Okay. Well, because I was thinking we've seen it especially benefits when it's a really complicated product.
Yeah.
B2B fintech, for example, definitely really helps. I've really noticed the difference between those who don't and those who do. But what if it's like maybe a bit more of a B2C straightforward?
Yeah, B2C, obviously it's a different ballgame. In terms of product marketing, it's a different ballgame because you have to be, I would say it's worth it, especially if that person has a general interest in consumer market research. So I used to work, I think I would be a good B2C product marketer. I haven't been one yet, but I've worked at Ipsos and Nielsen, so in market research. So I consistently think about what consumers think about products. So anyone with a background like that would be a good product marketer, even if they haven't been a product marketer. So my advice to that person would be, go out to Ipsos and Nielsen. I know they don't pay that well. So, I mean, they will always, any salary, especially in this market, will go. And again, we have to think about cost. On the flip side, I always like to pay people. I think people should get paid what they deserve. So that's a different story. But Ipsos and Nielsen and market research, Kantar, all of that would be good places to search for product marketers for that first job.
Amazing. Thank you, Leo. We're going to open up to Q&A if anyone has any questions. I've got the mic here, so I'm wondering if we can just pass to anyone else who wants it. Does anyone want to ask a question to Leo?
What are your thoughts or experiences of a kind of building public strategy? Kind of ones I do it really well, as you mentioned, and a few other fintechs, in terms of just kind of being completely transparent, completely open the door as a product marketer. It's hard to get data scientists or on a YouTube video, but have you got any tips, experience in terms of that? And also, I guess, convincing C-suite to open the door, kind of go behind the scenes. Personally, I've seen it to be quite effective, in public, but internal messaging, let's open the door, is sometimes challenging. Have you got any thoughts or experience on that space?
Yeah, I think it's a good question actually. So the public strategy, and I think that's kind of the story of the company, right? So technically you would have marketing in general that could help with that. It's almost like an internal PR thing, right? As you said, open your door, it's dog day at the office, and Monzo put stuff like that on LinkedIn. And equally as a product marketer, I love that kind of stuff because you can show the real face of the company rather than just a corporate facade. So whenever I do that, I would kind of use LinkedIn as an example as well. And if you look at C-suite and independent, especially in banking, it's sometimes quite dusty, especially in B2B. So what I've been doing as a product marketer as well is getting people in on social selling. So once you get more and more active leaders, and not everyone's up for it, but some will be, and you can kind of get them up to speed with LinkedIn, with telling the story, kind of sharing what they're doing inside the company. That gives you kind of the little bits and pieces that you can piece together. Then you start talking to your social media manager and say, okay, look, they've been posting this. Let's also kind of combine that and then start telling the story of the company as a more of a human story that we can tell. As a product marketer, I would say this.
Thanks. Got time for one more question? Anyone?
You mentioned at the beginning that product marketing is in product or marketing. From a marketing perspective, if they decided to hire them within the product team, and you're sitting there as head of marketing, what kind of ground rules would you establish for the relationship to maintain communication if that person isn't sitting within your team, they're sitting within the product team?
That's a very good question. I think, get them on your side very early on. Equally, they should be doing that as well. So they should be coming to you, building that relation, even if they're reporting to product and they're embedded there. There will be a lot of technical talk. So I would say, from both sides, there should be a nice warm relationship because you will be doing a lot of work together in terms of getting the story out there through different means, digital, social, at events as well. We work a lot with marketing operations, field marketing, and it needs to be the messaging needs to be on point everywhere you go. So building mutual relationship building should be a thing from the product marketer, but also from marketing.
Amazing, thank you. Thank you very much, Leo.